I never go looking for bad video game consoles, because bad video game consoles, they just seem to find me. And what really sucks about finding these systems is that, in my head, I assume I'm gonna find something that's just so good, something that other people haven't found before, a hidden lost treasure, an amazing game lost in the sea of these collections built into these systems. But that never happens. It's never happened, but I keep thinking it will. So after that last system, I didn't think it could get any worse. So I decided that I was just gonna avoid featuring these consoles on the show. But while driving through Virginia, I went to a video game store. And at that store, they had this. This system has 200 built-in games. 200! And you would assume I wouldn't want to actually take a look at them. But it got worse, because when I turned it on, I found out that this thing had a couple of games that related to the last plug-and-play system, which technically made this a sequel console. A sequel console. Someone played that other system, took its games, and made a sequel. That's what this is. So, I had to play all 200 games, and I did. Did it for you guys. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the games. What you're about to see is a random selection of some of the very worst titles I found on this system. I didn't really want to sit you through all 200 games, because if I were to do that, we'd be here pretty much all day. F-22, a game that stars a jet fighter in space, but jets can't go into space, so none of the levels in this game take place in space. The game is a basic shoot 'em up. You take a hot pink jet, fly it through one of 3 levels, and fight some bosses at the end of the stages. The endless barrage of enemies that are thrown at you before you get to the bosses are pretty uneventful and really boring. But what is interesting are the boss fights themselves. Now the first boss I really couldn't identify. It seems to be some gigantic crop duster, but see, the game is having trouble actually rendering this stuff. There's just far too many things going on the screen at once, so everything starts to flicker and break up the longer you play. Now these flickering issues are throughout the entire game, but they're always the worst as soon as you get to the bosses. Like this second boss that kinda looks like a bug's head or something. I swear they didn't even work too much on the design of these things. You gotta love the copyright date on this game.
Copyright 2005 SR06882.
How lazy could you have possibly been to not look over at your calendar beside you and type in the actual year? Racing Fighter, a complete and total knockoff of Road Fighter, but this is something a little bit special. You see, one of my favorite games of all time happens to be Jackal on the NES, and this right here steals the Jackal sprites. It's like stealing a part of my childhood and dumping it into another game that I never really liked to begin with. Hey, speaking of Jackal, let's take a look at Vanguard. It's Jackal with a tank, which I guess you can do. I mean, once you've stolen the sprites from Jackal, why not just lift the entire game over? Well, no, they had to do their own thing here. This game does not play very well. It takes everything that Jackal was very good at doing and basically half-assed it. I just don't understand. How can you play Jackal, rip it off, but not get anything right? The shooting's slow, the movement's slow, hit detection is off, and even the weirdest implementation of a health bar system doesn't make any sense when you're driving a tank, and it really should just be one hit, one death, kind of like how Jackal originally did it. In their weak attempt to try and make this game somewhat worthwhile, it ends up just falling on its face. Animal Blockies. It's Mahjong, but with animal faces instead of the original characters off the original tile set. So there, that's all this is. It's not fun to play, and it never will be. Magic Jony. Now this game actually has a story, and I'm gonna read it to you exactly how it's written.
Because nutrition sucked by the huge monsters, sore all the plants have shriving one. This atmosphere of peace has been destroyed. The green land is becoming to wasteland, and people's lives were also threatened by monsters. Till one day, a little hero called Jony has come up. He must defeat all these monsters by his magic flower. What?
So the way that this game works is that Jony, the little guy wearing the hat there, has a flower that he keeps in his pocket. He pulls it out and it eats enemies on the screen. It looks weird and it plays weird. And the game level, well, it never seems to end. I played this stage for a really long time and I didn't find out how to move and progress to the next stage. And you know what? That's fine, because I really didn't want to keep playing. Police Dog Lasy. Look into the eyes of a dog that apparently has no eyeballs at all and just dark, soulless voids where eyes should actually be. Some burglar or criminal type guy decided that, hey, you know all those things I just stole? I'm gonna throw them into somebody's lawn, and guess what? I'm gonna throw bombs in the lawn as well. Your job as the police dog is to memorize all the little areas where that criminal threw everything and only select the items that were stolen and don't select things that are gonna hurt you. This is a fairly boring and very unfun memorization game, which I would not recommend anyone play. The police dog doesn't even have any abilities, which is amazing because the one thing dogs are usually really good at is smelling things. You eventually forget where all the random items are placed and you're just naturally gonna hit bombs. So this game is just awful. Violent chasing. Don't let the title confuse you. The one thing this game doesn't have is violence. But there is a lot of chasing because you are a police car chasing a truck. But this is where the game gets incredibly annoying. Unlike other games that have a kind of level layout like this, like let's just say Pac-Man, where you can choose to go in any direction you want, your police car can only go forward. So if, for instance, you see that the truck is behind you, you can't turn your car around. You simply only have the option of going forward and turning left or turning right, and that's essentially the entire game. Oh, there are power-ups you can find on the level, like gas canisters that make you drive faster, or even clocks that give you more time. But you see, none of that matters because the controls are just awful. Your car handles like a broken Hot Wheels toy, and it never really gets any better than that. So the best experience you're gonna have with this game is when you turn it off. Pong Pong. You'd probably assume it's a Pong ripoff, but guess what? It's not. It's a bumper car thing with holes in the stage where you have to kind of bump the other cars into an awkward little spot so they fall in the holes. This game is so annoying, I actually hurt myself while playing it. My thumb kept slipping off the joystick in frustration because I just wanted to get one of those cars into one of those freaking holes, but it never ever works. But let's just say you do get one of those stupid cars in one of those holes, they just respawn right away. It just keeps going on for as long as they've got lives. I would never recommend this game to anyone. It is beyond irritating. Rabbit Village. Some mountain green cliff building type of thing has a fire, and you, as a rabbit on the top of the hill with some kind of pulley system and chair thing, have to save a bunch of rabbits before they burn to death. Honestly, after a couple minutes of playing this game, you're just gonna let those rabbits burn. But let's just say you wanna save the rabbits. Well, you've got some weird hippopotamus crocodile type thing that's basically dropping bombs above you and trying to hit you when you're standing in a certain area above that one green building thing. Look, I don't really understand what's going on here, but there's very little challenge once you've just figured out to avoid the bombs. So once you've done that, you're kinda good. Seaport Guarl. Guarl? I think that's supposed to be guard. But anyway, you're a tank and you have to shoot at a boat. And that's really the whole game. In fact, this is one of the levels you would have found in Jackal, that game I talked about earlier on. But here's where it gets weirder. Every time you beat this boat, you'd probably assume a different boat would appear, but that's not what happens. The walls on the left and right just get longer and longer, and it makes it harder to avoid the shots. It's really tiresome, and I just hated this game. Seawolf. You ever want to play a game where you basically just sit there and do nothing for a really long time and move awkwardly left and right until some kind of ship goes into your sight so you can shoot at them with no hope ever of them actually shooting back at you? Well, good. This game is for you. Spring World, an entire game where you just avoid things. It's not even that hard to do it. Your character moves really slow, I'll give it that, but you just kind of time your movements, and the game is pretty basically easy to beat. Through-Man, a very basic side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. Unfortunately, the feathers you throw at your enemies don't really go that far, and it kind of makes it impossible to attack anything from a great distance. The game really doesn't do anything special, and then it totally changes perspectives all of a sudden, and the gameplay gets even worse than it was before. You can't aim properly, you can't dodge things that are coming at you, and unfortunately, those stupid little feathers that just don't go the distance still don't go the distance, and if you're even lucky to get through this area, it just loops again and again and again. I just had to stop playing because I was getting sick of seeing this all the time. Toy Factory. Now call me an idiot, I've got no idea how this game works. You got random items that come down on a series of conveyor belts, and you have to control the little buckets at the bottom of the stage so that the items can go into the correct colors. At least that's what I thought it was, but sometimes an item that worked the first time doesn't work the second time you try it out. I'm not too sure why this happened, but no matter what I attempted to do in this game, nothing seemed to work. And for an added bit of irritation, sometimes a conveyor belts just magically turn the opposite direction. There's no rhyme or reason for it, it just happens to screw you up. And because you don't know where anything's going anyway, it just further irritates you beyond belief. Star. I've got no idea what's happening in this game. It's a bunch of random stars in the background, and you control a star, eating smaller stars to become a bigger star, maybe? But even then, I'm not too sure if that's what the game is. I played this game for 15 minutes, and I still have no idea what it's about. Wild Worm. Now in this game, you're just a small worm eating things, and what even is that? Are those its eyes? Can it see me? Are its eyes made of wood? Let's talk about this console. It's small. Look at it. It's really amazingly tiny. It's got all of the games and the hardware itself built right into it, along with a bunch of buttons and a joystick on the top to control all the games. But you know what sucks about that? Well, a couple things. First off, the AV cable that goes out from the top here to your TV, well, when you're holding the controller and moving it around, you shake the AV cable, and it creates a staticky image on your TV, so you have to stay very, very still. And if you're staying very, very still with such small little buttons and small little form factor for your really big hands, your hands start to cramp up. And you know what? Maybe that would have been fine, those two stupid issues, but it gets even worse. The reset and start button are so close to each other that sometimes when you're playing a game for a really, really long time, you'll accidentally hit the reset button instead of the start button, resetting your entire progress and going all the way to the beginning of the game selection screen. You know how many times I did that? Too many times. But I do actually have something positive to say about this system. It runs off of 3 AAA batteries, and those batteries have lasted my entire playthrough of all 200 games. That's actually pretty impressive. Unfortunately, it was 200 terrible games. After the first game, I kinda wanted to give up. Move Box. Now, you ever wonder what it'd be like to be a game developer with simply no ideas whatsoever? That would be this. This game has you taking 3 boxes, a small box, a medium-sized box, and a big box, and moving it over to the other side of the screen in the same order that you found them in. Do you know what this means? This means this game only has one possible solution. One! And it's the only puzzle in the game. See, once you've done this once, the game is over. There's nothing else to do. Is that not amazing? Does this not amaze you? Somebody made a game with one puzzle. You created graphics assets and a whole group of things just to make a single puzzle. Wow. And the puzzle took me a whopping 10 seconds to figure out. It actually took me longer to describe this game to you than to actually play it. Apple Chess. Well, I don't see any apples or chess, so why is this called Apple Chess? This is just an old game called Reversi, which is really weird because if you knew it was Reversi, why didn't you call it Reversi? Were you guys trying to avoid a lawsuit? Really? Because the people that invented Reversi probably died hundreds of years ago. In fact, there is more of a likelihood to be sued by the people that created Apple Chess. You know, Apple, they actually made a game called Apple Chess, and call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure the people at Apple have lawyers at hand where the people that invented Reversi probably thought the world was still flat. Hitmouse. I don't even. Look at the screen! Is that a mouse? No, it's a mole. And sometimes you hit a piece of grass. I don't even know. Why would you call it Hitmouse? You know it's not a mouse. You designed them to not be mice, so why would you call this game Hitmouse? This game goes by one name, Whack-A-Mole. You know it's Whack-A-Mole. You knew it was Whack-A-Mole when you ripped it off, so why call it Hitmouse? Goblet Tower is just the box moving game again. And it's the same puzzle. It's the same solution. Nothing has changed here, except now it's just little goblets. I don't even understand this. If you were going to make the game twice, why not make it far more interesting? Like have more tables or maybe have far more cups or boxes in it or something. I don't know, I'm just shooting in the dark here. Oh man. Frantic Fishing is not frantic, not even a little bit frantic. In fact, if I might be so bold, this is the most boring fishing game I have ever played. You choose bait, put it on a line, and then put the line in front of fish eyes. Then once in a while, you catch fish. It is so unbelievably boring. At the bottom there, it says you can catch mermaids, but I've never done that. That would have been exciting. Mermaids would have been frantic. Maybe. This isn't frantic. It's about as exciting as fishing in a kiddie pool you filled yourself in your backyard that doesn't have any fish in it. Toad in a Hole, which is exactly the same game as Hit a Mouse, only now you have some extra holes. What's going on? You can't do that. And you can't call it Toad in a Hole when there's no toads in any of the holes. I would even accept a lizard or some kind of reptile, something at all, just so you could call it Toad in the Hole. This is called Music Moment, and what you're supposed to do in Music Moment is collect all those falling red balls in that little dish with that dragon that you're controlling there. No, unfortunately, you're never gonna be able to complete this task because some of the droplets appear right across the screen, and you're never gonna be able to run there in time because your stupid little dragon is just not fast enough. Airial Hero is supposed to be some kind of helicopter fighting game, but I would know nothing about that because the entire game has you just overlooking some city from high on above. I mean, let's just fast forward here so you can see how incredibly empty this world is. There is nothing to see. Oh, once in a while you might see an enemy, but that's super rare. This isn't a helicopter fighting game, all right? This is just a heavily pixelized version of Google Maps. This game is called Highcard, but Highcard is actually the card game War. If you forgot what War is, let me refresh your memory. You and a friend have 2 stacks of cards. You both take one card from the top, lay it out, and whoever has the higher card wins. The player who wins takes both cards, and you just keep repeating that until the game is over. And once in a while, if you have the exact same face value of cards, you lay down 3 additional cards, and a 4th card gets flipped over, and you keep repeating that until one of you loses, and you get to collect more cards. Did I have to explain War to you? No, but here's what you need to understand. This game is operated by a single button. One button. There's no strategy, no extra thought. All you do is start up the game and just press the B button. And you keep pushing the B button until the game is over. That's it. That's what Highcard is all about. But I think what irritates me more than anything isn't the fact that this is one of the laziest games that is even on the system. It's the fact that I can see mice in holes. This means that they actually created a sprite of a mouse in a hole, which they could have used for Hit a Mouse, but they didn't. Why? Why wouldn't you do that? You actually made the assets. There was no reason for these things to be in this game. This game's a card game. It doesn't even involve mice. And if you go to war, there's an animation that shows a mallet hitting these mice, which is what you needed for that other game. I'm losing it. I am actually losing my mind. Surfg Sport. It's supposed to be surf, but they threw in a G there for some reason. This may well be the saddest game on the console. There's no music, no sound effects, just some guy on a surfboard slowly drifting through the ocean currents through a bunch of oil rigs with some oil spills here and there. But the guy, well, he's dressed up in a flame retardant hazard suit because that's what you'd wear when you're surfing, right? Now stop. This next game is important. You have to understand that I didn't even realize that this console was gonna be a sequel to that other video I did of that other plug and play system until I played this exact game. This is called UFO-Race, but look at it. What does it look like? It actually isn't UFO-Race, it's Boat Race. But what's weird is Boat Race is actually a ripoff itself of F1 Race. So you're looking at a second generation ripoff game. I didn't even know you could go this deep down the rabbit hole, but folks, here it is. You see, where Boat Race was some kind of interesting palette swap, this one here, they just basically turned everything black. See, for UFO-Race, the UFO is now in space because they just got rid of the backgrounds. But look, UFO-Race, the title screen, look at that little guy right there. He still has water splashing up on the side of the UFO, so it's still a boat. But you know what really sucks? It's the fact that I can still hear the tires squeaking in space. This is incredible. How do you rip off a game twice, and each time you rip it off, you still don't get rid of that stupid tire squeaking sound? That's the laziest hack I've ever seen from anyone. Slot machines! Slot machines! I hate slot machines! I mean, where is the challenge? This is a digital slot machine. You don't win actual money. You literally put in fake money that they just arbitrarily give you at the beginning of the game, and then you either lose that money or win more money. What's the point? I mean, really, what's the point? Many of the card games on this system are at least card games with some element of strategy and thought. Slot machines don't even have that. And don't even come to me thinking,
oh, well, what if I were to play a game with a story and that one has some really interesting slot machines in it?
But see, that right there, that's a video game with a story. And if they're including some kind of gambling mechanic that happens to slot machines, it's a mechanic included as a way for you to earn money faster so you don't have to grind for the money. It's a little bit of a risk and reward system, which does work in narrative games or games that have some kind of larger world outside of slot machines. But games like this, with just the slot machine, are useless. Completely and totally useless. Zero gravity. Wait. This is just Balloon Fight. It's a palette swap of Balloon Fight. But hold on. Balloon Fight has a 2-player mode, but you can't access it here. But I do remember if you played the original Balloon Fight, there was a moment when the main menu would eventually demo 2-player mode. You just had to wait a little bit for that to happen. So let's give this game a couple seconds. Aha! Look, there it is. That's the 2-player game mode. But hold on. There's something wrong here. If this game mode is actually within the game, why can't I access it? Ladies and gentlemen, I discovered how they did it. Let's take a closer look at the RetroPlay controller. It's got a start button, an A, a B button, a joystick, and a reset button. But what it doesn't have is a select button. Now that's important because the NES and Famicom both have a select button, and the select button is used to get to the second option on the title screen to turn on the 2-player mode. So in their infinite wisdom and their supremely lazy attitudes, all they did here was they modified the original ROM of this game so that the second second option is just appearing black. Oh, it's still there, you just can't select it, because by removing the select button from this controller, there's no way for you to select the 2-player option. In fact, there's going to be a ton of games you see on this system that are just rip-offs of other games that have a 2-player option, but you simply can't get at it because they removed the select button. And if you're looking at this 2-player mode you're seeing right here, you can clearly see that the second player sprite has been colored blue, and they had to do that by hand. That's not just some automated thing that would have happened. So they must have done this just to mess with you, just because you may have known what this game originally was, and just to make you hurt for that 2-player mode that you will never get. You know, it's funny that this console doesn't even have a select button when it needs one, and this one has way too many buttons that just do the same thing over and over again. It's like they just can't get it right. Dada, which is actually just Popeye, but sure, let's call it Dada. Now, this is a palette swap, and I can understand that. At this point, we're getting a lot of different palette swap games, but I don't understand why they went this route. Now, Popeye is a teddy bear, Olive Oil is now a penguin, and Bluto is a porcupine head man? I can't even really tell. This is a very strange one because the gameplay relatively has stayed the same, but they've just done a number on the graphics work here. With the original graphics, it's pretty easy to tell where Popeye can go, but because they've replaced all the ladders and all the stairs with bushes and stuff, it's kind of hard to know exactly where your teddy bear can go around. Where Popeye used to eat spinach for power-ups, now the teddy bear apparently eats his own feces. And in the second stage, well, Bluto, he's definitely got scurvier. Something's going around, man, because he does not look good. Heck, he might have been eating whatever the bear was eating in the previous scene. And in the third and final stage, well, they just got rid of the penguin altogether, so just random letters are falling from the sky that you have to collect for no reason. And here's a pro tip for anyone out there that's trying to really hack a game and modify it as their own, and you want to avoid any lawsuits, make sure to remove Popeye's face from the life counter to the top left. You complete and total idiots. Bicycle race it's just F1 race again. It's the UFO-Race, the boat race, the game's back again. But hold on, what's it missing? Listen closely. There's no tire squeaks. There's no tire squeaks. There's no tire squeaks in a game where you actually have tires. I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. The one game where you can have tire squeaks, you took it out. What is wrong with you? How can you rip off so many games, and in the one game where you could have used the original assets, you got rid of the assets because I just don't understand. Okay, now before we start this game, I want you to listen to the original theme music for tennis on the NES. Here we go. Okay, now here's the theme music for tennis off of the Retro Play. That sounds like a drunk cover band's version of the original song, but it gets worse because when the game starts, it really is just a ripoff of the original tennis, but they've done, so much more. To your left, you'll find Master Higgins from Adventure Island, but wait, there's more. There's two Master Higgins. I don't even know why they did this, but there's two versions of the same dude standing there. I don't know, guys. When you were stealing art from other games, couldn't you have just stole from, two different games? So at least the audience looks a little bit different for this tennis match? Oh, and no doubt you had to take out Mario from the original game as the chair umpire, and change it with what? A caterpillar? A caterpillar? A man-sized caterpillar? That was the thing you chose to be the chair umpire? Really? Where is this tennis match taking place? Land of the Lost Giant Bugs? Now here's a strange game. Powerpull Girl. This is just a ripoff of an already existing game, just a ROM hack, but what is very funny is that they decided to rip off the Powerpuff Girls franchise by getting Blossom in this game as a standalone character. You don't even get her sisters. But what's creepy is that Blossom's skin is pure milk white, and her eyes are black with white little pupils. Oh, they got the hair color right, but outside of that, she kind of looks like a zombie, or maybe what the Powerpuff Girls would look like if Tim Burton drew them. I could get past the looks personally, but here's the problem. You see, when you modify the character model of one of the characters in the game, you also have to modify the hitbox, because now that you've changed the way the character model looks, the game world is still treating the model like it's the original model from this original game. It's hard to gauge distance, you fall into puddles, and it kinda sucks. Hot Topic Blossom is just a complete joke. What I think confuses me the most about this game is that they chose the Powerpuff Girls and just Blossom out of all three of them. Why would you do that? Wouldn't you want to pick a franchise that only has one character? Maybe like one strong character like Superman or Batman. What kids out there right now are going,
"Oh, I want to play with Blossom"?
The NES classic Urban Champion is nowhere to be seen because this is Spar, and this beautiful title screen is brought to you by an infected letter S. It just looks so gross. This game essentially plays just like the original, but everything, and I mean everything, has been modified. Look at it. You're some kind of goblin fighting some kind of werewolf. The buildings are now trees, and there's still people that live in the trees, but now their skin is green, and when you win, it looks like they have leprosy and their skin is flaking off into the streets below. Heck, even the police car that scares the fighters from fighting each other still shows up in this version, only now it's yellow and looks like a taxi. Oh, the fighters still stop fighting because, you know, in the presence of a taxi, they get all freaked out and scared from the taxi guy. I mean, what's a taxi even doing in the forest? And I just don't get it. I really don't. Why are they freaked out? Why is the goblin and werewolf freaked out by a taxi? If anything, the taxi driver should be driving even faster to get out of the forest because he just witnessed a goblin and a werewolf fighting near a tree with some lady at the top of the tree throwing down skin flakes on people. The following is a paid message from Knockoff Games Incorporated.
Here at Knockoff Games Incorporated, we only take the best of video games, knock them off, and sell them to you, the unknowing consumer. What's this? Donkey Kong 3? No, it's Bandits! A couple of people would probably rip off a game here or there and just change a couple of the assets around, but we inverted the entire color spectrum. That's right, it looks like someone took a pee on absolutely every object in here. Oh, and remember those black money bags at the beginning of the title screen? Well, we inverted those colors too because we ain't got no idea what we're doing. Now, I'm not stupid. I hear you asking.
But how can you use the image of Donkey Kong in this game? Nintendo will sue you. It's one of their most popular arcade characters of all time.
And I say to you, you really strange sounding guy, this isn't really Donkey Kong. Take a close look. It's a psychopath in a mask. What better way to rip off Donkey Kong 3 than to induce nightmares in every single one of our consumers? And it even gets better. We got a stage where you trap Donkey Kong's face, well, not Donkey Kong, in a mask made from a human skull. And then, just for good measure, and because we got a little bit lazy, we just decided to invert the colors a whole heck of a lot more times, just to kind of make it feel like an acid trip. So remember, kids, when you want your Donkey Kong 3 fix, don't go to Nintendo, come to us to play the one and only Bandits.
I'm really not a fan of Road Fighter, and this console has so many Road Fighter clones that if we were to actually sit down and review every individual one, we would be here for over an hour. All you really need to know is this: every single version plays exactly the same with some kind of fuel limit or time limit. I hate Road Fighter. I hate Road Fighter, and I don't ever want to see Road Fighter again. And this console has a billion different versions of that exact same game. Crazy Gold Digger, which has Kirby in it, and he has full-size arms, and he does not look happy about it. I played this game for quite a while, and the only thing that's crazy about it is that there is no gold in the game whatsoever. But you know what? Maybe that's why Kirby's crazy now, because he's been given human-sized arms to collect a whole bunch of gold that simply isn't there. So in the first plug-and-play system we looked at a little while ago, that console had a Battle City ripoff. So of course, this one also has to have a ripoff, and it's called Future Tank. Now, this is funny, because there's no tanks in this game. The one and only thing you need to do is show off a single tank, and you couldn't even do that. Whatever the heck it is you're controlling looks like some kind of rocket ship, maybe a missile, I don't know, but it definitely isn't a tank. If for whatever reason they're gonna make a sequel to this game or rip it off again and use these exact same weird sprites, just call it Future Rocket, because that's what this is. This one is called Risker, but look at it, it's not Risker, it's Excitebike. Only they just haven't called it Excitebike because they want to, I guess, avoid some lawsuit, like everything else we've pretty much seen on this console so far. This is once again another modification where they've taken out some graphics and changed them with something else, and in this instance, the bike is now a car. But you know what, folks? I know Excitebike very well, and I'm pretty sure once you get to this one specific moment, if they haven't changed the font around, it should still say, ha, there you go, Excitebike. Excitebike, the word, is still in the game, but they must just not have played it to this point to realize it was still there. How sad. Sky Invader. Here's another game that we already saw on the other plug-and-play system, and they've really changed very little. Now the sky is pink. That's it. The sky is just pink. Cool. Aquarium. You're a fish, and you're eating a bunch of things that are being tossed down by... I don't even know what that's supposed to be, but you really just keep eating things. Nothing hurts you, you just keep eating and it never stops. I don't even know why you'd bother playing this game, but it's nothing compared to this next one. This game is just called Aimless, and it totally is. Dragon bird things are just flying at the screen, and you're doing your best to aim and shoot at them, but your best is simply not good enough. The controls are really slow, the aiming's really imprecise. You know what? If we're gonna have one thing in a game where we just aim and shoot at things, it should be a proper crosshair. What is this? Tell me what this is. Does it look like a crosshair to you? Because it certainly doesn't look like one to me. In fact, if I were to call it anything, I'd probably say a 4-leaf clover that's transparent, maybe. Why even do this? Burbles, which... I guess. Why, sure, let's call this game Burbles. It's a game where you ride in a Jeep and shoot unarmed people out of the sky while they're parachuting down. Oh, I assume you think they're soldiers, but when they land down, they run away from you as fast as they can because you're sitting there shooting unarmed people. Oh, and while we're at it, great work on that background, guys. That copy and paste feature really worked wonders on that mountain range. Burrow Explorer. Boy, I love games where you can't see any of the stage because it's all hidden in the black of night. But you know what's really fun? Having a stupid little flashlight to just light your way just a couple of inches in front of your face. That way, when you see an enemy and you die, it really was all your fault because you just couldn't see anything, right? This game is so lazy, they didn't even bother to color the stage. It's just white on black the entire way through. At least if I could see a little bit more than that, I would know where the heck I'm supposed to go. But I don't even know what is a hall and what isn't, and I just can't. Bugs War. Welcome to the slowest possible version that you will ever play of Battleship. That's all this is, Battleship with bugs. You don't even get attacked back, you just attack the bugs. There's no limit, there's no nothing, you just keep going until the stage is over. Baseball! Hey, you know, there's like a bunch of really good baseball games on the NES. This isn't one of them! I don't even know what this is. I have no idea how they made it. There's no sound effects, there's no music. It's got horrible controls, and in fact, I'm pretty sure the people that made this game have never seen a baseball game in their entire life. This is a game called Boxes, where you and an AI opponent draw boxes. because someone thought that was fun. This game's called Bubble. At the very beginning, a fish flies across the sky, and I guess it drops a bunch of really ugly fishes that you have to shoot bubbles at. Do I even need to explain how fish work? Fish don't fly! Very simple! It's in the book about fish! It's the first sentence in the book! Fish swim, they don't fly! What? Okay, I need some support. I'm gonna lose it if I don't. I'm gonna call a friend, huh? Someone that can help me with this. Just anyone. Someone at all. Hey, look, it's everyone's favorite game.
Fish War.
That's right, Leo. Fish War. But we know that it's actually called Balloon Fight. I don't know why it's back again, but here it is, and everybody's a bunch of fishes. You know what? I'm gonna let Leo take this one.
This is a deep-sea dive into the world of fish. Exclaim with joy when the fish hits the other fish and they lose their little fish umbrellas. Oh, you don't think they're fish umbrellas? Oh, you. Oh, and you, my little undersea friend, who are you? Ah, you just sit there in the waters doing nothing. You shot out a little bit of electricity. How delightful and utterly unlike Balloon Fight. Yes, I could bask in these waters for hours, just looking into the deep, thinking and looking, but really thinking about life.
That was strangely poetic. But I got a lot more games to go through.
You should probably just relax.
I will, just not yet. Shouldn't Nintendo be suing these guys or something? It's really amazing. There are so many ripped off Nintendo games on here, and in many of the instances, they're not even ripped off well. Depth Bomb, another game that's ripping off Battleship, but this one has something kind of cool. You have the ability to switch weapons. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say you have the ability to switch weapons? No. You don't. The AI sure as heck does, but you don't. And that's where this game gets really, really annoying. In Battleship, you have to attack one square at a time in order to find out where all the battleships are, which is pretty much par for the course. However, what they've done here is that there are a selection of different weapons. These limited weapons give you the ability to hit more than one square, which kind of adds a little bit of a different dynamic in the way that this game is played. But there is absolutely no way for you to be able to use those weapons. You just can't select them. Oh, the AI does, and believe me, they make use of everything they can, but you can't, because I think what happened was this game was designed with the select button in mind, but there isn't a select button on this stupid console, so you just can't do it. You just can't. So instead, the AI just tries to massacre you every time you play. But this one time, this one and only time while playing this, I killed the AI using single shots. That's right. And even then, I still hate this game. Diamond. This game is actually Arkanoid, and you know what? It must be really hard to rip off Arkanoid. You know, the one really cool thing about Arkanoid that I used to remember playing in arcades is that there was this little dial, and the dial was weighted, and it was really easy to move your little paddle left and right, and it was just really fun to play. But in this game, your paddle is purposely slow. It's so slow, in fact, that you're simply not going to be able to move it fast enough to hit the ball back at the little bricks up above. This is simply a broken game from the get-go, and the way they could have fixed this was just by increasing the speed of the stupid paddle. But they didn't do that. You know what they did? They just gave you infinite lives. I can't think of a better way to ruin a game than by giving you absolutely no challenge whatsoever. This just sucks. Dune War. A man stuck in the middle of a desert with a rocket launcher starts shooting at oncoming enemies forever and ever and ever. This game's called First Defender, but I know it by another name, Space Invaders. Unfortunately, they've taken what is a very basic game in Space Invaders and just made it incredibly boring. I don't even know how many rounds of this I played, but I was just assuming it would get more difficult as you played it, but it never does. You know, that's kind of the challenge of Space Invaders. The more of the invaders you blow up, the faster they move. Well, in this, that doesn't happen. You can have one spaceship left on the field and it just moves as slow as if you started the level. It totally removes all the fun from Space Invaders. Fruit Dish. In this game, a pipe from the sky drops fruit, and there's a pipe underneath. and your job is to switch the fruit out into the fruit that the pipe at the bottom needs. In this case, lemons. Oh, there is a time limit just in case you can't possibly master the easy switching of fruit. But if you can't master that, well, wow. This console has a huge selection of games that look exactly like this. Yes, they switch out the sprites and switch out the characters, but the gameplay essentially stays the same, and even the music and sound effects generally stay the same. I don't know why they made so many of these, but I guess once they were on a roll of just ripping off whatever the original one was, they just kept making them again and again and again and again. None of these games are good, none of them play well, and they're all incredibly boring. These games take up a huge chunk of the 200 on this console. It's crazy. Here's a game called Mowing. Now, I'm no Hank Hill, but I'm pretty sure most people out there don't enjoy the act of mowing their lawns. But even if you did, here's a game where you have to worry about Muttley from Wacky Races being stuffed into your lawn, trying to kill you whenever you're mowing. That's the game. You mow grass, and then you get another lawn you have to mow, and you just keep doing that until you throw the system in agony. Mad Xmas. Ooh, Santa does not look happy. I don't know who this green elf is, but he did something to make Santa angry. Oh sure, Santa's throwing down candy canes and presents and candy, but once in a while he tries to kill this guy by throwing down a bomb. What is the message this game is trying to convey? That if you get Santa angry, he'll kill you? Forest adventure. Oh, I played this game for a really long time, because I just assumed the scenery or something about it might change, but it never does. But here's the thing, at the beginning, I thought this might be a decent platformer, maybe. But no, it couldn't be that, because it just had to do something to irritate me. Sometimes your character will just fall through the floor for no reason at all, or maybe, just maybe, a jump you just performed doesn't really land exactly where it's supposed to, because they haven't really designed the game to be that pixel perfect. The game controls incredibly sloppy, but they've also done one of the things I hate the most in these kind of games. They show you some kind of thing that you can get, a diamond, a coin, whatever it is, and they put it in an area that you'll never be able to get unless you're willing to die for it. That, to me, is bad game design. Oh boy, hammer and nail. This one really got me. You play as a hammer. Now you can see there's those little X's on those squares there. Well, here's what's supposed to happen. One of those sentient nails is supposed to go near one of those holes, and you're supposed to hit them into the hole. Sounds easy, right? But here's the problem. The nails have a mind of their own, and they rarely ever go to those holes. So you'll be sitting there for an incredibly long time just waiting for them to go there. And by the way, if you want to try and scare them into going in the holes or something like that by slamming your hammer around them, well, that doesn't work. They don't care. If you squish them when they're not in a hole, they just end up getting respawned somewhere else. This game is incredible. It's like they didn't even realize that there needed to be some kind of mechanic to get the nails to go near the holes. Frantic Mouse. Now, let's look at this title screen here. You see that mouse trying to climb onto a cloud? You're never gonna see this while playing the game. And here's why. The goal of this game is that you control a mouse and he's gotta jump from one cloud to another, but the very first cloud is glitched. You can't just jump a little bit to the left or a little bit right. You can only do one thing, jump straight up. That's it, no other options. As soon as you try to jump, the left and right momentum you're getting from the bottom cloud doesn't follow with you. So when you jump, you just go straight up. So the clouds above you keep moving and you miss it. And as soon as you come back down, you lose a life. And once you lose that life, the level restarts. I played this game forever trying to figure out what I did wrong. But as far as I could tell, I wasn't doing anything wrong. But I just had to assume it was me and not the game itself. How could they make this game? They had to have tested it. They must have known it wasn't working, but it still was included on this stupid console. So clearly it was me and not the console, right? But no, after a really long time of playing, the game randomly started up properly, and I was able to get to the second cloud. But after I got to that second cloud, I fell again. Replay that and look at that. Tell me I didn't hit that cloud, because I totally did. And that was the last time I ever saw the game work properly. One try, and that was it. But all those games meant nothing. All of them meant nothing until I found this one. Because this game was the worst, the absolute worst of all 200 games that this console had to offer. And when you see it, I think you're gonna agree. Animal contest is... This one's special. Okay, you know the game Highcard we showed off way earlier? It's also known as War. Well, what they did was they took the exact same engine and dropped it down here. So this still is War, only this time, instead of cards, you're comparing animals. But see, that doesn't make any sense. You can compare high cards and low cards because, well, there's a number value there. But what's the difference between a pink dog and a yellow lion? I don't understand. Is it more ferocity? Is it cuteness? Is it what? What does that mean? There are things here that are being compared against other things that I have no idea what the value is. It's just like Highcard. There's no strategy, no gameplay elements whatsoever. You just push a button till the end. But why wouldn't you just put like some kind of number beside the animal so I could at least know that one animal is better than another? 200 games! Oh, I'm dying! So, there you have it. The Dream Gear Retro Play controller in all of its glory. It's a piece of crap, and you know what? That's fine, because I was expecting that after a while. I gave up hope about 50 games in that I was going to find anything in this console that would be worth it. But you know what? I don't regret playing this. In fact, I'm happy that I played this, because while playing this, I came to one big realization. It's now my goal in life to find every single one of these stupid systems and review them. Review them so that everyone else on the planet knows never to play them. So that whenever somebody takes a second glance at one of these things and they think, well, should I buy it? They'll know not to because they've seen me talking about it. So here it is. From here on out, I'm gonna look for these things. And I'm gonna play every single one.